But sir, you told consciousness in concentration comes from the interest. So whether this practice, 8 practices that you say,
but I'm not able to. Sorry.
Yeah, the 8 practices that you say, that you are telling that will control the concentration. But concentration is being controlled by the interest that you have in work. So whether our interest can be controlled by those practices, so that will control the consciousness. So which is playing main role, on interest or the practices over the concentration, which is going to bring out the awareness.
If you feel that the job is not interesting and your concentration is because of your disinterestedness, then you have to use your willpower to get concentrated. Interest. It's like a chicken, egg, which has come first, what you're talking about. But the question is, we are not fortunate in life to only do things which are interested. Lots of, and see, this is what will make the difference. I always say, I'm a professional soccer player. I always say, when I started playing, it was a hobby. After some time, it became a passion. After some time, it became a profession. I'm one of those few fortunate people where what you like becomes your profession. But we make a distinction in work and play. And lots of time we go with the approach that I'm working here because this provides a livelihood to me. I'm talking generally. There are lots of people who will be interested in the work that they're doing. I'm not talking about that. But generally, we make a distinction in work and play. What I'm doing, it may be not interesting, but then it is fetching me the remuneration at the end of the month, so I'm somehow doing it. And that is where the conflict comes in. So what I'm saying is, instead of having that, whatever work you're doing, start getting interested. That is the only way out. Otherwise, we should be luxurious to do only things which we are interested in, which is not the case.
The interest is playing major role in the concentration, not the practices.
Absolutely. You must start taking interest.
In yoga philosophy, is there a concept of soul, rebirth, and etc.? Other things which is common in the other Indian
concept of
soul, rebirth, etc.
100% there. These concepts are there in all Indian philosophies. We divide Indian philosophy into two branches. We talk about Astika philosophy and Nastika philosophy. Astika philosophies are those which accept the authority of the Vedas. And they are 6 in number. We talk about Vedanta, Mimamsa, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Sankhya, Yoga. So Yoga is an Astika philosophy which accepts the authority of the Vedas. And on the Nastika side, we talk about Buddhism, Jainism, Charvaka, Sikhism. So both these branches, Astika and Nastika, okay, with the exception of Charvakas, all of them believe in law of karma. And if I were to make an exception here, it's only Buddhism which, despite believing in law of karma, does not believe in a soul. Otherwise, all other Indian philosophies have this concept of soul. The name given is different. In yoga, we talk about Purusha. In Vedanta, we talk about Atman or Brahman. But the concept of soul is there. In all philosophy is there.
Then why is the concept of Brahman or the other thing not in yoga? I do not know of it.
It is completely a different philosophy. See, yoga is a dualistic philosophy. Whereas Vedanta, from where the Brahman comes, is a monistic philosophy. So there is only one principle, metaphysical principle, which is the Brahman. Whereas in yoga, we have got two principles. We have got Purusha and Prakriti. Purusha is the principle of consciousness, Prakriti is the principle of matter. Both principles are eternal, independent, infinite, they are separate. Whereas when you come to Brahman, Vedanta, Brahman is the only principle, one principle. So from the Brahman, the world comes about. Whereas in yoga, in Sankhya, we say matter and energy coming together bring the universe. Sankhya is more closer to science and physics. When Einstein talks about E is equal to mc square, he talks about energy being converted into mass, mass being converted to energy. The same principle is there in yoga. That every existing being has matter and consciousness. If you take a stone, in a stone, matter is approaching infinity, consciousness is approaching zero. But both are there, they are just approaching. If you take a Buddha who has attained to nirvana, consciousness is approaching infinity, matter is approaching zero. And in between a Buddha and a stone, we have a plant life, an animal life, normal human beings, evolved human beings. They are all evolving on the path of consciousness. So Brahman is coming from a particular philosophy. Okay. So entire philosophical things are different there. In yoga, we don't have Brahman, we don't have the concept of Atman, we are talking about Purusha. Purusha, not the Purusha and Mahila of our toilets. Purusha is, Puru is a city, and Isha is that one who dwells in the city. So this body and the mind is the city in which the dweller is there, Antayami is there. That is the Purusha.
I have a question about, you mentioned that, you mentioned that the whole point of yoga is concentrating and bringing your mind to the present, which is what most of Indian philosophy says, bring your mind to the present moment. But as human beings, isn't one of our chief characteristics being able to think about the future?
Yes.
If I know that winter is coming and there won't be food crops available, I store the food crops during the time the harvest is done. So I am thinking about the future because based on which I am acting in the present.
Yeah.
So if I don't think of the future, there are the chief basis of being human, which separates us from animals, which cannot plan for the future, is denied if I am always thinking only in the present moment.
No, I will make a small distinction there. I take your point very nicely. But the problem is not thinking, the problem is involuntary thinking. If I am able to voluntarily think, there is no problem. All the advancement that we have made in present life is because of thinking. I cannot say thinking is bad. Thinking is essential. But the question is between voluntary thinking and involuntary thinking. We have reached a state where when I don't want to think also the mind thinks. That is the problem. So thinking is fine, no problem at all. If you sit and plan up for future, no problem at all. Because with the planning you are in the present. You are planning for the future, but you are in the present. The question is, see, if you keep your eyes closed, okay, and say, look, for 5 minutes I don't want to think anything. Try and do that. You see when it happens. It doesn't happen. Why does it happen? Because the activity of thinking has become so ingrained that when I don't want to think also it starts thinking. This is the problem. So thinking per se is not the problem. It is involuntary thinking which is the problem. Yeah?
How can we be in the present when we cannot be with in that present with our five senses? Even at a moment we are seeing and we are hearing. Therefore, there are two impulses to the mind. So that how. And my second question is, what is the difference between Shiv Yoga and Patanjali Yoga?
Shiv Yoga?
Patanjali Yoga. What is the philosophical difference?
I will answer. Your first question is, how can I be in the present? Yeah. So if the impulses are coming from different sense organs and you are receiving all at the same time, then you are in the present. Like now, if you are listening to me, you are in the present. You are seeing me also. So it is happening. I don't have to give proof, but it is happening. You are in the present completely. But suppose you are hearing and your mind is analyzing what I am talking about, then one is in the present, one is in the past or the future. You bring everything together, you can come. The second question, I will not talk about Shiv Yoga, but I will talk about Patanjali Yoga. Patanjali Yoga is the basic text of yoga philosophy. And when I say basic text, I say basic text because Patanjali's yoga sutras, they give principles of practice of all practices. So Patanjali does not give any name of any asana. Patanjali does not give any name of any pranayama. No kriyas, nothing. But he will tell you how to do asana. Patanjali gives the definition of asana, Sthira Sukham asana. That posture which is Sthira and Sukha, stable and comfortable is an asana. How do you do? Prayatna Shaktili Ananta Samapati Dhyan. In every performance and asana, your efforts have to progressively reduce. You have to be graceful. That is how you do. Ananta Samapati Dhyan. Your mind has to be merged or attuned to the concept of the infinite. So he is giving methodology. Again he gives effect. Tatha bandhana vighataha. By doing that practice in the asana I have prescribed, in the manner I have prescribed, conflicts in life will go. So Patanjali devotes only through sutras. Very interesting, you must note this. 195 sutras are there in Patanjali's text. out of which 3 sutras were asanas. Simple mathematics. Asanas are less than 1.5% of yoga. And in the external world, you make it 100%. This is the difference. I am not in any way bringing down the importance of asana. No, I am not doing that. I am just saying it, put it in proper perspective. Now coming to your answer question, what about Shiv Yoga and Patanjali? I am not talking about Shiv Yoga. You can take any yoga, whether it is Ashtanga Vinyasa, Iyengar Yoga, Power Yoga, Hatha Yoga, Mantra Yoga, Japa Yoga, Laya Yoga. If you look at the net, today you have got something called Doga, yoga for dogs. There is Boga, yoga for boxers. And recently, 1.5 months, there is beer yoga, which you do yoga after drinking beer. So we will not talk about different types of yoga. The question remains is that Patanjali is the text which provides principles for all the practices. That is why it is a crucial text. And it is Indian psychology, where asanas from Hatha Yoga side, Tantra side, deal with the body more. Patanjali is more interested in the mind. That is why meditation is the cream of all yoga practices. All yoga practices take you towards meditation. Because it's only meditation that you transcend the mind. In all other practices, you control and discipline the mind. In meditation, you transcend the mind. So, Patanjali's yoga is the classical or traditional yoga which provides principles for all yoga practices in all schools. That is how you can take it. Yeah, yeah please.
Sir. So, another question on trying to live in the present. So, whenever I attempt to be in the present, I feel like an emotional zombie. I mean, emotionless zombie. So, if I am excited, if I try to come to the present, my excitement dies down. If I am sad, the sadness goes away. So, I feel somewhat emotionless. So, is that what is intended by trying to be in the present?
If you are able to do that, you are in the state of nirvana. No, I am answering from philosophy point of view. Some of you are interested in philosophy. See, Bhadiraj 6. In Vedanta, okay, in the state of moksha or self-realization, we say this Atman in me becomes one with Brahman. Okay, and Brahman, Swarupa, is defined as Satchit Ananda. So, pure existence, pure consciousness, pure bliss. So, there is a carrot for you to go towards moksha because it is blissful. Unfortunately, that carrot is not there in yoga. In yoga, the state of Kaivalya, which is realization of the Purusha, okay, if you take Purusha as the spirit or the soul in you, does not matter. But this Purusha in yoga is Guna Atita. Guna Atita means it is beyond the gunas. So, happiness and unhappiness are only at the level when the gunas are operating. And in the state of self-realization, in the state of Kaivalya, the gunas not being there, there is no question of happiness or unhappiness. So, if you are becoming a zombie and there is no emotions, feelings, you are actually in the state of Kaivalya. Because that is what is actually intended. What you have said is a truth. Okay. I always say, look, I give an example. When I get angry, or I am angry, okay, I utter harsh words, I do some act, do some damage, and then realize, oh, it's not good to be angry, henceforth I will not be angry. But the same stimulus 10 minutes later, the same anger. The question is, when I am angry, I have identified with that anger. I have identified with the mind. Who is this I who is identified? This is the Purusha or the awareness. So the Purusha or consciousness is identified with that anger. So I don't know I am angry. So now when I say I come into the present, I become aware. So the moment I am aware of my anger, anger is not there. So for negative emotions, it is very tempting, awareness. But unfortunately, when you are very happy, you become aware, your happiness will go. This is what we are talking about. This is true. Because that state is beyond goodness and badness. Goodness beyond happiness and unhappiness. It is a beyond state. It is transcending the dichotomies of the mind. Now I am coming to a philosophical principle. The human mind always works dichotomously, and that is a disease. If I say Sarang is a nice person, then all of you can be very well clear that I have a definition of a bad person. Only then I can say he's a nice person. If I don't know what is a bad person, how can I say he's a nice person? So this mind is not able to work linearly. And that is the problem in our day-to-day life. So the whole question in spirituality is, can I transcend that dichotomy? Because that dichotomy takes away energy. It dissipates energy in whatever I am doing. This is the basic existential conflict. If you take Western philosophy of existentialism, we talk about the basic conflict of human being, either or, now, later, good, bad, right, wrong. This takes away so much energy from my mind. The question is, can I transcend this? Can I go to the next level where this is not there? Where a Zen master says, this world is a beautiful world, it is a perfect world. I'll give a small anecdote and end it. Yeah. One Zen master continuously used to say, this world is a beautiful place, perfect place. And one Zen monk was studying with him, never used to understand what is this master saying. I see so many abnormalities in the world, and this person is still continuing saying it's a perfect place. So one day the Zen monk, young monk, he accosted the master on the roadside, held him and he said, stop. I want to settle this once for all. He said, what happened? He says, you look at this man, and are you still saying the world is a perfect place? So the master looked at him and said, look, what is there? What is in the man? He said, you can't see him. He's got such a big hunch. Big hunch is suffering. Absolutely big hunch. And you're still saying the world is a perfect place. So the master said, oh, he said, look carefully. So the monk saw, he said, what? He said, still look carefully. Then he said, look, I'm not able to see. He says, don't you see that the hunch is perfect? It's a perfect place. The hunch is not perfect for us because I have in my mind the valuations of good and bad, right and wrong. That is why the hunch appears to be an abnormality. But for a person who has transcended that, it's a perfect hunch. World is still perfect. Okay, we end here. Yeah, please.
We have a special honor. Thank you, sir.